Welcome to the Diplomats. This is Shahirdin Shahin. Today in the Diplomats we are having Birgitta Wagner, German Consul General in Istanbul. Welcome to the Diplomats, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you very much.
Her Excellency, let me first ask a question about the Turks in Germany. There is a wide population of Turks living in Germany, and after so many years, there are still problems of integration. Has German government drafted any policy to solve this problem?
Well, there are a lot of policies and political measures. Let's say both sides, I think, the Germans, the German government, but also the Turks who came to Germany. We had to go a long way to understand that integration is important. At the beginning, both sides thought that these people whom we called to Germany as workers would leave after a couple of years. But this turned out to be false, and they stayed, and they contribute to German society. And yeah, we had to learn that these people had to be integrated, and that both sides have to make an effort. There are always national integration plans, mainly concerning education and training and language courses, language learning, and there have to be efforts really from both sides. I mean, there are a lot of example for very successful integration, but there are, as you say, still problems, and I think the federal government, but also the local governments are dealing a lot with this, especially the schools and professional training institutions also make a big effort for them to integrate them and to make them learn German from a very early age.
I see. How can one get German citizenship? Is it only about blood, or one can get naturalized into German citizenship?
Well, first of all, everybody who is born to either a German mother or a German father acquires German citizenship. But you can also be naturalized normally it's after living in Germany for at least 8 years. Legally living in Germany for 8 years. And children of these people, for example, who have been living in Germany for 8 years legally, they also can acquire by birth both also the German nationality. When they turn 18, they have to decide for one of the two citizenships.
So what about dual citizenship?
Well, this is indeed the very rare exception. Usually when you want to become German, when you apply for German citizenship, you have to give up your former citizenship unless you get a permission, but this is rather difficult to get because there is a general rule to avoid double citizenship.
Let's turn back to Turkey. What's the presence of German companies in Turkey?
Germany is probably the country with the most companies. There are about 4,000 companies, either German companies or companies with German capital. No other country has that many companies, and this shows, I think, how close the relationship is. For example, Germany is the biggest export partner for Turkey, and Turkey is Germany is the second largest import country for Turkey after Russia because of oil and gas that Turkey is importing from Russia. But next to Russia, it's Germany, the biggest importing country for Turkey. So I think relationship is very close, and things are moving all the time. I mean, there are so many contacts and so many business relationships. Just last week we had an event in the Consulate Garden where 3 Turkish investors in Germany were honored. They got kind of an award because they have done quite substantial investments in Germany. All these kind of measures promote trade and investment relations back and forth.
What about cultural presence of Germany in Turkey? How many German schools are there in Turkey?
Well, there are Overall, there are I think 5 schools. There are 2 very traditional ones in Istanbul. You might know the Istanbul Lisesi, formerly Istanbul Erkek Lisesi, where you can pass a German high school diploma. We call it Abitur, and also in the German school, the Özel Alman Lisesi in Istanbul, which both of them are schools of very high reputation here in Turkey. And then we have a primary school here, and we have quite an important school for mainly expats in Ankara. And we have started a school in Izmir too.
What other cultural institutions the German government have in Istanbul?
Almost all cultural institutions that Germany has, which are working abroad, they are here. I mean, there is an important Goethe Institute in Istanbul, also in Ankara, and in Izmir. And we have the German Archaeological Institute, which is sharing this building with us. They are doing a lot of work in various archaeological sites in Turkey. We have the German, Orient Institute here in Istanbul, which is a scientific institute doing research in various fields on this region. These are. Then we have the German Academic Exchange Service, which is quite active here, sending lecturers to universities, but also granting fellowships for Turkish students going to Germany, for example.
And we have been hearing about the establishment of a Turkish-German university here in Istanbul. Right. Well, what's the level of progress?
Right. I mean, last year when our federal president, Mr. Wolf, was here, they laid the foundation stone, or a first stone, for this university in Beykoz, together with the Turkish president, Mr. Gül. And the rector has been nominated, so there is a kind of a task force working on the curricula and on the various studies. Probably they will start at a very low level still this year, I mean in autumn, but then they will start with a full-fledged program with probably 5 studies next year.
And we all know that there were a group of German Jewish professors here in Istanbul who contributed to the construction of university education in Istanbul University. Is there any project about these professors? Are there any books sponsored by German consulate or embassy in Ankara?
Yeah, I mean, there has been quite an important number of German scholars and university professors who came during the 30s of the last century because they were prosecuted by the Nazi regime. And I think we are still very grateful to Turkey that they were welcomed here at that time. There has been work done on these people who came in various fields. There has been quite an important exhibition which was called Heimatlos, which had been touring through Turkey and which has also been shown in Germany. This was done with the contribution of the German government and was very much supported by my predecessor. And then there are single small projects on individual professors, seeing what they have done, trying to look into the archives and what is still left. And as you say, they contributed quite substantially to the establishment of Turkish universities in the 30s.
That's indeed a very interesting story. I have maybe one controversial question. You know, Turkey has a strong aspiration to become a member of European Union. What's the German government's stance on this?
I mean, the German government stance is very clear. It is laid down like this also in the coalition agreement between the 2 parties who form the present government in Germany. And this position is that the agreements will be honored. That means what we have agreed with, what the EU has agreed in Turkey, will be done. So the negotiations go on. Everybody knows that it's not easy and that they are not progressing very, very quickly for the time being, but indeed it is going on. And then in the end, both sides will decide whether Turkey wants to join and whether the EU wants to accept Turkey in the Union.
Do you think will Turkey ever become a member of the EU?
Let's see, when they fulfill the criteria, I think there is a good chance that they become a member.
What do you think about Turkey's foreign policy under Justice and Development Party's rule?
I think this policy has developed in a very interesting way, because this idea of zero problems with the neighbor is a very interesting one, because it's in everybody's interest, I think very much so also in the European Union's interest, that Turkey has good relations with all its neighbors, and in order to work towards a stable region also here in Turkey, in the Middle East and in the Caucasus and so on.
Is Turkey's axis shifting towards the Middle East?
I hope not. And well, that's at least what the government also keeps saying, that their interest is still very much also on on Europe, on the West, on joining the European Union. And I hope this will be still on the agenda. And this is just a complementary side of Turkish policy. And I feel it's very natural also to look to the other side.
Well, what do you think about the Arab Spring or the rebellions in the Middle East?
Well, I think the German government very much supports every movement towards democracy and freedom and, well, self-determination of the peoples in these countries. And, well, I think we can even admire a lot what has been achieved so far, for example, in Egypt, what the people has achieved there in Egypt or in Tunisia. And we hope that the transition in all this area will be peaceful and successful in the end.
Will these recent developments in the Middle East have any implications for Turkish-European Union, Turkish-German relationships?
Well, I think the European Union knows that Turkey is an important country in the region, and that everybody should see what contribution its country can make to a peaceful development in this area.
And another question that I believe some of our audience is curious about: visas. Will
Yes.
Germany relax visas policy towards Turkey? We know that there are some court decisions taken by German courts in favor of Turks or Turk citizenships. But will you relieve a little bit the visa policy towards Turks?
I mean, this visa issue is an issue all the time. Every German politician who comes here hears this topic and these questions. We have been negotiating a readmission agreement, the European Union with Turkey, and in principle the readmission agreement has been finalized but not yet been signed. And in the context of these agreements, there should be talks on facilitation of the visa issue. But so far we try to make it possible that everybody who wants to travel and who has a good reason to travel can travel and is able to travel. Yes. We try, for example, to make it easier for business people within the given framework, which is the Schengen framework. It's not just a bilateral issue, it's done within the group of Schengen states. And for these court cases, I mean, they are very particular individual cases. I know there are other cases pending. Let's see what the outcome of these new court cases will be.
Your Excellency, 2011 is the 50th anniversary of the recruitment of workers from Turkey. What kind of events will take place to remember this event?
Yeah, indeed. It's quite an important year this year in German-Turkish relations, because I think this great migration, I mean, these great number of Turkish workers who went to Germany and the consequences this had afterwards marks very much the relations between our two countries. As I said, there are about 3 million people